us.
It's not live on the link though. And
Get
that's
ready
what
for
happened before. So let me see what's going on my YouTube channel.
Is it YouTube? How about you ask Be Live for help too? Hit it from both ends.
Yeah, that's true. Oh no, it's on there. Oh snap. That mean everything we said. Get right. All right. So at least it's working. Yay. I'm so excited. So hey people, it's Kelly of Print Pray Slay, and I'm here with Morgan.
I'm having deja vu.
Because we did this before. So we had a huge technical difficulty where we went through pretty much this whole thing and explained everything and had to start all over because something happened with the streaming. Um, but it is working now. So I'm very, very thankful, and we will start all over again. But today we are going through. Let me just put Morgan's thing on there. Yeah, and you said you prefer this point of view. I guess we
I
can
mean,
how we give people a chance to like log back in type of thing.
you can undo it and I'll just scoot back. Undo it. And then I'm gonna scoot back. See how far I got sit back.
My whole screen jumped. All right, that's Morgan. Hold on, I'm trying to get, and your handle is long. Okay, now we're ready to go. All right, so we are back, and so apparently we went over Genesis 20 in the what?
Can you look to make sure people are there?
Yeah. It's live.
I didn't say that it was live. I said that the people are there.
Not yet, but I can't just keep on pause because there's a replay where people will be like, okay, so am I supposed to be waiting for these people to come on too?
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
So, yeah. um, so we're in Genesis 20. And it's kind of a duplicate action that Abraham is going through where he is explaining to this King Abimelech, that he is the brother of his wife. So basically, he's telling the king that he is her brother, Sarah's brother. Same shenanigans that he was doing back in the day, Genesis 12, when he met the king of in Egypt, where he told him that same thing. It was out of fear. So he's acting in fear and going around telling everybody that my wife is my sister. I'm in fear of getting hurt because she's beautiful, and he believes that people won't want her. So the king does want her. So the king says, I'll bring her to my palace. And so they're together, and the king falls asleep, and God visits him in a dream, as God has done before. And he told him, "You're a dead man. For that woman you've taken is already married." And so uh, the king is like, God have mercy. Like, I didn't even do anything. We just laying here. I didn't touch her. I ain't sleep with her yet or anything like that. And so God's like, I know you're innocent. You're innocent because I haven't allowed you to do anything. However, you need to give her back to her husband, and you need to ask him to pray for you before you and all your people die. So when he got up that morning, he got his servants, he started rushing, he got everybody together and was like, look, let's get this woman back to her husband. And then he had this conversation with Abraham along the lines of like, whatever possessed you to do such a thing, which is basically quoted of what he said. And Abraham there's no excuse. He's just scared. So he basically is like, technically, that is my sister. So he tries to, I guess, finagle his way out of the situation by trying to explain like halfway truth situation. but I don't think he understands the severity of the situation that he put the king in. So the king ends up offering a whole bunch of fruits and calves and goats and a person, a male and female servants, and presents them to Abraham, asking him to, like, take this and your wife. And he did it in front of a whole bunch of witnesses so that everybody can know that he really, really was sorry for the sin that he almost committed. This man didn't even do anything wrong, for real, but he was that apologetic for the sin that he almost did. And along with 1,000 pieces of silver. And so Abraham prayed over the man, and God relieved the women that were attached to him, his wife, and all their female servants, because God made them infertile during the time that Sarah was with him. So that was good. So that's what happened with them. After that, God delivered his promise. And Abraham and Sarah became pregnant, like he said they would. I think that's Genesis 18. Let me go make sure. Yeah, Genesis 18. He says, "I'll return to you in about next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son." That's when she started all the giggling and all that such. And so that actually came to, and they named their son Isaac. So Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. Sarah was overjoyed. She was really excited that she finally was a mother. But then things got a little difficult, a lot difficult during the celebration when Hagar's son, which again is the son that the servant girl Hagar has with Abraham, because Abraham and Sarah were too impatient for this miracle of Isaac. And because of that, Hagar and Abraham have a son together named Ishmael. Ishmael was punking poor little Isaac, and Sarah saw it. She saw him picking on her son. And so she went up to Abraham and was like, "I need you to get that lady and, well, servant and her son, and I need you to cast them out." Abraham, I mean, I don't want to say ironically, but considering that both of those are his sons, he definitely took the side of his wife and told Hagar and Ishmael they had to leave. He did supply them with like a little bit of food and water or something like that, and sent them away into Beersheba? Yeah, it's the wilderness. He sent them away. But God told him that, be mindful that that's your son. Still listen to your wife. They do need to leave, but that's your son too. And don't fear, I'm going to make him a great nation as well. So Ishmael is going to be, he's a good descendant. It's not like it was a total waste of having this child. So Hagar is now in the wilderness, and she is kirking out. She's really sad. She's crying. She's worried about her son's health, because they're in the wilderness and they're not covered and they don't have enough supplies. So she's afraid that he's going to die. She's crying out. The angel of the Lord, is it the angel of the Lord? No, God himself. God hears the boy crying and lets them know that they're going to be okay. He gives them this assurance and this comfort that he's going to be a great nation. He's going to have many descendants and things like that. So they eventually do get water and things, and they're going to be fine. The next part of that chapter, we're still in 21. Abraham makes a covenant with the king that he just deceived, Abimelech. And they basically make a treaty. Abimelech sees that God has his hand on Abraham. I don't know if he all the way believes in God, but he definitely can see that Abraham is blessed. So he's saying that, I want to swear loyalty to you. I want us to be cool. I'll give you some of my goods, you give me some of your goods, and we gonna be cool. And Abraham agrees to this. So they make a treaty and everything's fine. And they have their covenant. So they squashed everything from the whole "that's my sister" type of shenanigans. So then Abraham's faith is tested. So he has Isaac, of course, that's his son with his wife, Sarah. And God comes to him and says, take your son, your only son, Isaac, who you love. So I know all of this is what God is saying. I want you to take him to the land of Moriah, and I want you to sacrifice him. I want him to be a burnt offering. And to my knowledge of reading, Abraham, is not like he doesn't have a problem with it, but the text does not show us that he's unwilling. So very fearful with his own life, but his son is coming up against being sacrificed, and he's willing and able. But it seems like he does have some little wink of faith, because when he's going up this mountain and he's going to the place, he gathered he woke up on a mission. He woke up on a mission. He got everything geared up. He had his servants. He had all the tools, everything, but sacrifice from Isaac's point of view. So they get to the spot where God told him to be, and he looks back at his servants and he says, we'll be back. Me and my son. He's taking his son up the mountain. So his son is counting everything, and is like, I see we got the wood. I see we got everything we need except for the sacrifice. Like, where are the sheep? Where's the sacrifice? God is like, Abraham is like, God will provide. We'll be all right. And he takes that with his father and says, okay, I'm cool. God will provide. We're gonna go through. Let's do this. So they get up to where the peak of where they need to be, and he takes out a knife to kill his son. But his son doesn't really show any kind of, he's not stressed out or anything or fearful. It seems, again, from the text, he's not. He let him bound his hands and everything. Like, he just stood there and allowed it to happen, as if he had the same type of faith that his father had. Like, I know my father wouldn't hurt me, and if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, then okay. And as Abraham is supposed to take the knife and sacrifice his son, an angel of the Lord stops him from doing so, and like really yells and says, stop, don't touch him, don't lay a hand on him, leave the boy alone. And he said it's basically like God wanted to test Abraham to make sure that though he was given this gift of Isaac, that he didn't place that gift above him. So he passed the test. His son is not hurt. God knows that he knows. And the offering is still given. They find a ram, like kind of tangled up, and they sacrifice the ram. And they name the place Yahweh. Y'all know I'm not good with that. I know the word Yahweh though. Yari. That's what we're gonna call it. So fast forwarding past that, we get into a sad part. It's Genesis 23 is when Sarah dies. She is 123 years old, 27. She's 127 years old. She dies in the land of Canaan, which he as an Abram is not familiar. Like, he's a foreigner there, so he doesn't have land there. So he's like, I need to buy some land because I need to bury my wife. It needs to be nice. I need to buy a whole plot, not like a piece. I want to buy enough where she can have a nice burial. And the people there, Hittites, they acknowledge Abraham of being this great man, and they're like, no, your money's no good here. You're good. Just go ahead and bury your wife. And so he's like, no, I really, I want to pay. And they're like, no, you're good. You're good. And so he's like, no, I really want to pay. And so I like that exchange, because often people in the wrong position give the assumption, like, well, we're good, so I know you're going to let me have this at a deal, when it should be the other way around. Somebody should offer that to you for free, or offer you that discount. You shouldn't just assume from your relationship, or because you think that that they see you as this great person. So I like that Abraham to me, it was like a lot of integrity, that he wanted to, like, no, let me buy the land because my wife is going to be here. So he ends up settling on 400 pieces of silver. He buys the land and he buries his wife in Canaan. And so that is where 23 ends. I think the meat of this section was definitely in the faith of Abraham being tested and against the fear that he was showing earlier. Same God protecting him, but fear at one end and strong faith at the other. So I thought that was really interesting. But I would like to hear from Morgan because I've been talking for a good smooth 20 minutes. Feels like.
That's a
I said feels like. Did you not hear the last parts? So you had really, really good points in the last lost footage. Since we had to start over. And I'm just hoping that, since I believe like when we're doing our study, it's a lot of us reading and studying and things like that, but a lot of it is definitely from our heart. So I'm hoping that you all can hear what I heard the last time when Morgan was speaking. And I hope that I delivered everything and more than what I said when I previously did this recording before we got cut off. But say it away. What were your points?
So the first note that I had about the section, skipping over the part about Abraham's shenanigans, is that I thought it was really, really dope how God, kept his promise to Abraham and Sarah, even though they had doubt, even though they laughed, and they're like, oh, I'm too old to be bearing children. It happened. It just didn't happen on their timetable. It happened on God's timetable. So it was just a reminder to me, and I hope to anyone else who's having, some, maybe not a child situation, but just a situation in which they pray and God has given them the answer, and just to let it be, and not let it be as in sit there impatient and tapping your foot like, come on now, but more so like, okay, he said it's going to let it be. I'm not going to be anxious about this no more. I'm not going to fear about it anymore. I'm not going to speak negatively because there's power in the tongue, say, oh, it's not meant for me, or I'm never going to have this or that, when clearly I just told you was going to have it. Just give me a minute, So I thought that was really, really cool that everything that God says he will do. So note to self. And then moving on from that, I was really, really annoyed with Sarah this chapter, because she's shown not once but multiple times that she can't handle the consequences of her own choices. So if you guys remember way back when, a few chapters ago, because she was so anxious and impatient to have a child, she persuaded Abraham, hey, have a kid with Hagar and I'll raise that child as my own. That was her plan. That was her choice. And then when Hagar, took upon this air of, yes, I have birthed a son, Sarah couldn't handle it. She was upset, and she went running to Abraham like, you need to check her and this and this. Of course, then Abraham was like, I'm not getting in the middle of it. And so she just was really, really mean to Hagar and made her run away. And then here we come, fast forward, after she has given birth to Isaac, and she's again upset that Ishmael is even in existence. Ishmael is a daily reminder of her choices, of her lack of faith in God. And that daily reminder, she couldn't handle it. Now, I don't know how much of her daily reminder was supposed to be picking on Isaac, but hey, sometimes
it's weird because I don't know how old these children are, but and I don't know the real case between a servant having a child. Do you really hand over that child? And like, this woman is, all you do is feed the child and then she stay. Because if that's the case, then she should have had more heart for Ishmael. Like, this is like, you raised him as your son. So like, how do you see him as separate? Like, this
was to take the child as her own. But I feel like up until a certain point, like, you can't, because the baby needs to be nursed, it needs to be doing certain things. And if Hagar, sooner rather than later developed this heir, it probably made it hard for her to bond with Ishmael.
Okay, so you're saying the bonding probably didn't happen.
Probably never.
Obviously, if she won't cast the boy away, like, there's no way that you love on somebody so much, then you get a new baby and it's like.
So that was. I just thought that was very, very, not very, but I just was sick of Sarah. Like, time and time again, she just been real shicey. The only time that she was able to submit, air quote, was when Abraham was like, yo, you got to go in here and pretend to be my sister. And if a dude say you got to give it up, you got to give it up. Are you in? Break. Like, she ain't say much about that, but.
We don't know. But I mean, yeah, I do agree that I like the point about like this is a mess you definitely had hand in. Like if you would have just had faith, at least listen to your husband. If you would have just had faith enough, at least in just him, if because obviously you didn't believe God, we wouldn't be in this situation. However, of course, Ishmael was supposed to exist because it happened. You know, God could have stopped pregnancy. Like it would have just been them doing what they was doing for no reason. Um,
But
so
so part of the thing that really made me upset was that Sarah wanted Ishmael to go away, not simply because he was making fun of Isaac, but she didn't want Ishmael to receive the birthrights as firstborn son, which he was entitled to. She was like, get rid of that slave and her son. I don't want him taking my son's inheritance. Like, girl, like relax. Like as far as I can recall in my reading, Abraham is a man of many fortunes. There was enough to go around.
So I mean, and Isaac already had that birth. I guess you could call that his birthright. He already was going to be the one to have this, that, and the other because he was the rightful, I guess you can say, heir to it. She didn't have to do that. Especially because it wasn't like you sent them to a new town and it's like, you do you over here, I'm gonna do me over here. You can see him on weekends type of thing. It wasn't like that. Like the wilderness to me is like sentenced to death, but a nice, slow, painful one because you're in agony from starvation and all of that. Like what else was around? There was no civilization. They could have at least sent her to the next town over or something like that. So I think that was kind of really messed up.
I like that this time, all the times that Abraham did not, when Sarah was concerned, because I told you she must have been a baddie to just get with her way, no questions asked. But this time,
the man said, "That's my sister." Men were fighting wars over this woman. Like she was looking nice. Sarah, I need a picture. Where's she at? She ain't in this Bible.
but this particular case, sorry if y'all hear that banging. My neighbors have moved and they're doing like repairs to kind of clean it out.
It's not loud.
But yeah, Abraham was upset because even though Sarah wasn't connected to Ishmael, Abraham was. Like this was his firstborn son. This was the fruit of his loom. He was upset. He turned to God, and God was like, "Ain't no thing. Go ahead and Go ahead and give her what she want, but I'll take care of him." Which I think was super. It shows a transition in Abraham from Abraham that we've seen previously, which ultimately then leads to the Abraham that we have later on when he has to then sacrifice Isaac, about that faith and about being more in tune with God and listening to God more. And, I don't know if it was the birth of Isaac that made that shift, because sometimes it is when you have a kid, like for men, not for women can make the change when the baby's still inside. But for men, they have to have the kid in order to make certain changes and lifestyle changes and be the person that they want their son to be. So that's what I kind of got from here. It's like, all right, Isaac's here. Who am I going to be? I have to be the person that I want him to be. So I don't want to just cast my kids out. Like, God, what am I going to do? God, like, he's okay. Boom. All right, you're going to be good. Let me give you a little something on your way. I know you upset, but I know God got you, so I ain't even going to lose the wink of sleep about it,
I mean, he could have took the approach of, I know, especially since God came to him about it, knowing that you're gonna be okay. Yet again, listening to his wife, man, I hope women don't underestimate the power that we have. But it's like, I don't know. I definitely see everything as this is the way it was supposed to happen. This is the way it's supposed to be. You always see, shows, videos, movies, people go back in time, don't change nothing. Butterfly effect. So I understand that all of this had to happen in order for stuff to be exactly the way that God has it to be. But I think we're just supposed to, pull from it the lessons that, we have. Yes, when you mess up the plan, as in God actually told you something, like for him to come to you and speak to you and for you to be able to hear it. Like it wasn't like he just spoke to Abraham, like she heard God. Yet still all of this still happened. So and her not, well, no, she didn't believe that she was going to get pregnant. Um,
They didn't speak to her directly until after Ishmael was already here.
yeah,
Ishmael
I'm
was
talking about the second time, and this was, the kiki giggle type thing. But the first time, we didn't know whether or not Abraham did tell her the plan. Um, but either way, he could have spoke up and said, "No, no, no, we're not going to do that because God said." Like he could have spoke up. So that's an Abraham and a Sarah thing. They each have their issues in the situation. Um, but yeah,
my
I
next
do.
note was
Go ahead.
I was gonna say my next note was I was so excited that God answered Hagar's cries like tenfold. Like he didn't come through with just another little 16-ounce bottle of water. He came through with a whale. Like she was like, all right, this is it. Me and my baby boy, we gone out. Which I'm really confused about because how was Abraham when when Ishmael was born, he was 100, right?
No, when
Oh,
Isaac was born, he was
Isaac.
100. Yeah, 100 with Isaac.
How was he when Ishmael was born?
I don't know, but time is weird anyway, so it wouldn't matter. We had 60 is the new 100 type of thing. So I don't know how old he was.
It gotta be in here somewhere.
He was younger than 100.
It's
But I don't
probably
know. I'm thinking like they're saying the boy. Like to me, as Ishmael is at least 3. But I was assuming older. Everything I've ever seen of a replay of this scene, um, of this story, I've seen Ishmael be like an actual, like almost a teenager, honestly. So we know he's
oh,
not a man because the boy.
he was 86. He couldn't have been. So that's what I'm saying. He 86, but then you're 100. That means that boy is 14. He's not a baby. So that's where I was a little confused, at least according to the adaptation of the study Bible that I have, because she's like, oh, Hagar left him and heard his cry. She thought he was going to die of dehydration. Yes, he's 4, but at 14, at this point, I'm assuming that he was herding cattle and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know. That's really beside the point.
I mean, his father is who he is. Maybe he wasn't doing hard labor type of thing, but either way, when you are dehydrated, stuff start happening to your body, like your body and your mind. So he could have turned back into an infant to her. But I'm just saying, like, either way, as a mother, you don't want to see your child suffer in any kind of way, whether they grown man or a young child. So her crying out, uh, it was just it was definitely sad. But I always thought it was always interesting in this situation that God heard his cry, her Ishmael's cry. Um, Not that he didn't hear Hagar's cry, but it's like he heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. Like I think to me that's amazing. And to me it speaks about, well, for me it speaks to me about how you sometimes feel like God doesn't hear you, but he definitely does. And it's not always going to come in the form of tremendous blessings upon you and things like that. But just know that he does understand your situation and has been looking out for you from the beginning of it. So I think that's amazing because none of us have asked to be here, but Ishmael definitely didn't ask to be here. So I like that, he was there for them. That was wonderful. So I like how that ended for them.
Um, my next note was that I did like how he told the servants to stay there, that they were going to worship and that they would be back. And so he, like I said before, is power in the tongue. And so he just had so much faith that, after all that God has been through, and he's told me I'm going to be a father of many nations. And he already said me sent one of my sons away. So I don't want to say he knew that he wouldn't have to kill Isaac, but he knew that if he did have to, he would have another son. There would be another way in which God will fulfill the promises that he gave them. And I think that that's pretty cool. Side
Yeah,
note.
definitely. Go ahead with your side note before I get into mine.
Side note. Where it's talking about his sister. Did she have octuplets? Genesis 22:20.
What are you talking about?
So it talks about his set, like it says that, oh, he's gonna like descendants will multiply. And it talks about his sister or his sister-in-law.
You talking about Malachi and his wife?
Yeah.
8 sons. I mean, I don't know if they were all at the same time.
That's how it made it seem. Yeah, it said had born 8 sons. And I was like,
I mean, it could have just been the fact that she had them already, not that she's having or had 8 of them at the same time.
What it said soon after this. So soon after this, Abraham heard that Milcah, his brother's wife, bore 8 sons. She had octuplets.
It could be, because if not, that means 8 years passed. So I don't know.
I was like, woo, octuplets in the Egyptian times.
In Egyptian time, moving on. Like Egypt got a whole time frame.
That was obviously if it's 14 years past. But yeah, that was my side note. I wrote that down in my notes because I was like,
I never noticed that, but that is something to look out for. A TLC special. Way back.
But yeah, those are like my major notes, and then just my takeaways were that, you know, God always comes through. That you should always consult with God before you make rash decisions off of just like emotions and impulses. You have to be obedient even when it doesn't make sense to you. And there may come a time where God will ask you to give up your most prized possession, and you shouldn't question it. Oh, and also never take a handout from somebody if it glorifies God.
Okay.
Those were my takeaways from this section.
Yeah, I mean, same points here. I like the tremendous faith that Abraham shows, and I also wanted to give a shout out to the faith that I believe that Isaac had as well. And the fact that he just let his father, like, you know how it go down when things get sacrificed. So when you saw that there was nothing, and he was like, let me like at least check with my dad. Like, we ain't got no rabbit, no quail, no nothing. Like, what's going on? Because the average billy goat ain't chilling at the top waiting for us. So you usually bring the offering, and you're bringing me. So I think that he asked, and he knew something wasn't right. And, you know, usually sacrifice don't start with you tying me up. So it's like, if we approached our situations like that in life, like, I know that it seems like God won't show up at this time, but I know he will show up at the right time. It's still not the time that I think it is, because to Abraham, it could have been like, okay, God, when I woke up, now is the time to tell me, psych. That didn't happen. And he still went into the same mode as if whenever God's time is to stop me from going on this route that I don't want to go on, but this is what he's telling me to do, I'm going to just keep going down that path. He could have stopped at all these moments. He could have been like, all right, God, I woke up. You changed your mind yet? All right, God, we got dressed. We got in the car. We got to the destination. We at the mountain now. I packed everything as if I'm going to do this. But psych, right? He just kept going, and it never happened, because to us, we could think God is going to not allow me to do it, or this happened to me at this point in time. But we don't know when he's going to intervene and stop either us or whatever else from causing us harm, or us causing ourselves harm. So to go through life with that type of faith, it sounds mad peaceful. That sounds so peaceful to just be like, I'm going to do me in the realm that God gives me. And when he doesn't want me to do something else, he will stop me. When he wants me to go right, he will block me from going left, type of thing. I think that shows a lot of faith. I think that my other point that I tied with the fact that in one area, he showed tremendous fear. In another area, he showed tremendous faith. I think that we are the same way. I don't think you should look back at the time when you wasn't man enough or woman enough to do something and count that towards the part where you could be strong in. So his fear was against other men. And whenever it came to his wife, like, it was like, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. But on command, he was so strong and so faithful. So we don't have everything 100. That's a Jesus thing. But where we show a lack of faith, we can make up for it in another, not make up, but we can definitely keep in mind that we are strong in other areas. So you might not have faith with your finances, but you have strong faith in some other area of your life, like with love. Like I'm going to love my husband regardless. I'm going to love my kids regardless. I'm not too fond or not too sure about my finances. God is going to help me there because I'm struggling in that area. So we shouldn't like if Abraham would have looked at that and counted himself as less of a man, he may have messed up how he sees himself and acts on his faith in another area where he is definitely strong. So I thought that that was interesting.
Do you think he would have had the same response if God would have said, sacrifice Sarah?
Sacrifice Sarah. Um, I can't say. The relationship between a man and his wife is different than a man and his son. My father always told me, I can have another one of you. But if you harm the vessel in which life comes out of, which is the wife, then you can no longer say that statement. It's like we've been through all this together. Like Sarah was his ride or die. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say that he didn't have that much of a faith, but or maybe I don't know. I would hope so, but I think that it happened that way because God was saying like you, not that he's worshiping his son, but like he held his son near and dear to him. So to see him, because that actually would have hurt his marriage. Like ultimately, if he lost Isaac, Sarah would have kirked out and bounced, and some other stuff. Like you gonna let me go through all of this? I finally get a son. How old is Isaac at this time? Like I ain't have him but for a millisecond. Like so, I watch this because I watch a lot of different Bible stories with my kids, like the cartoons. And man, when Sarah woke up and that boy wasn't there in the cartoon, she was looking through all the tents and she was like, oh no. And then she yelled out, Abraham! Like she was mad. She didn't know which way the donkeys went. She was on a mission. She wanted that boy. That was now the question is, would Sarah have done that?
You
I
already
think
know.
Sarah would have killed Abraham for Isaac, hands down. She wanted that son. So, but I mean, it played out exactly the way it was supposed to. But I think it's interesting to keep in mind that this section, as far as in the Bibles that Morgan and I are reading, the chronological Bible, um, the Life Application Chronological Bible, which is linked below. That's the one that we're always reading from. It is the NLT version. It's in this section is considered God's chosen family, and I like that some people like. I think I used to do this also, but I know a lot of people when you first get saved and when you first come into your faith and you're trying to understand everything, you think pretty much everybody in the Bible is perfect, and I love that you can see how regular people are in the Bible because it helps you understand that it could have been me type of situation. Like, oh, I can see how I would have made that same decision, or I have done that, and look how God pulled this person out of it. I'm sure he'll, reach out and touch me or reach out and grab me and help me type of thing. Also, like if he did it for them, he can do it for me. And so this is the chosen family. It gets way more jacked up than this as the stories go on. So I just want to keep that in people's mind is that we're not reading about this perfect everything. Like as good as Abram is, you continuously see how not good he is at the same time. Yet he was chosen. So I like that the realism in there is like epic to me. Like I love the story for that reason as well. I think that's all my notes. Oh no, I had highlighted this for Gen 22:1. It says God tested Abraham not to trick him. Um, and I want to make sure that we all understand that. Like God is not trying to trick you or trip you up or anything like that. He's trying to stretch you. And sometimes stretching is painful. We're growing. So it says here, God refines us through difficult circumstances. So we don't want to look at this whole thing with Abraham and Isaac as if God was like, aha. It's more of a, now you come out of this situation knowing how strong your faith is too. Because sometimes we have our own self-doubt and we, you can't necessarily test yourself type of thing. So I thought that it was a good point to make sure we know that God is not this little puppeteer type person, like, oh, let me see if it happens this way, or like just I'm gonna trip him up, see how I do with that. That's not the case, and that's not how it was going down with this. So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that. And I think it ends lovely with Sarah and her burial. We don't know why she died, but I love that it shows that he still loved her, even though all of this happened with them. They had a cool run. Like, marriage is hard. Like, their marriage was hard. Like, that's a real marriage. Like, people have, split families, stepchildren, and side hustles, side pieces, side things happening around them. So I think that it's a good depiction of how real family is. And I love that he loved her regardless and was really sad about her death. So that is my wrap up of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have Isaac, and we get to meet Rebecca, who's a wonderful woman. In Isaac and Rebecca, which is his wife, that is Genesis 24, which is fairly long because it goes to like verse 67. It's his own actual section, right? No. It's not his own section.
Not
But
yet.
it is mad long. So we have Isaac and Rebecca, and then Isaac going into his son.
18
Whom?
to 25:18.
Okay. So basically Isaac and Rebecca. So we'll get into their love
And
story.
Abraham's death.
You say what?
And Abraham's death to 25:18.
Hold on. 25. Oh, something else in between that? Oh, I didn't see that. I thought that was study notes. I wrote on it and everything. And I still thought, oh, yeah. And then Abraham dies. Well, we knew it was going to happen eventually. So, okay. So Isaac and Rebecca, and then the death of his father. Okay. So that means I get to talk about Esau and Jacob next. Okay. Man, as soon as I saw Esau birthright, what was it? Lentils? some beans or something. Anyway, that's crazy. Ain't enough beans in the world. All right, so that is, hold on, let me put it on the board because I always review this and be like, what was we supposed to be doing? I'm about to put it up there so anybody else can refer back to it. So we got 24 through
25:18.
25:18. So that is what Morgan is going to lead. Oh, Kamali is here. She had a great discussion. I'm so glad you made it. Next month, and that is, hold on, let me say the date also.
It's the first of the month. And the first
And
of
it's
the
January 6th. Don't listen to that one. It's hard to point at you. So January 6th. That's when
first Wednesday of the month.
nah. First day of the month is Friday.
Okay, first Wednesday.
Oh yeah, first Wednesday. Yes, you are correct.
As always.
Let us depart before some kind of lightning comes through and something happens. All right, so thank you all for coming again. I actually was thinking about cookies. I don't have any in my house. I ate all the chocolate. It was Thanksgiving. Okay, I said what I said in my head. That's how you do it, people. Say what you gotta say within. You don't gotta say it out loud. They know what you mean. It's in
You
the
know,
eye.
it is. It's like gas. It's toxic.
Oh, it's okay. The replay is going to be available as soon as I stop recording. The replay is available on the Patreon link, the same link. You just hit it and then it'll start over. We deeply apologize for the technical difficulty that we had because we would have been, you know, started. We did start on time, but then we got like 22 minutes into it and it had to start over. So I apologize. So the link will be available though. And then I'll make it public. I just posted the October one and we'll post the November one tomorrow. I didn't even realize that I was a month behind on posting it publicly, but it's always available for patrons. So, all right, people. You got something to say? Before these hands go. All right, people. Bye. Oh, Morgan.
It's still recording.
I know.